Folks, I'm going to share my screen with the presentation. That's a PowerPoint presentation. Just kind of walks through what the main changes are, and then you also have the actual budget itself, which I'll share. I think you have it already as an attachment, but I will share it as well. So our proposed operating budget for fiscal year 22. It's the second year of the state biennium, and so all the numbers are reflective of what the state is telling us right now, but that, of course, is subject to change. I've built this in with the numbers that the state was providing to support a 2% raise. I'm actually able to do a 2.5%, but the state right now is debating whether or not it's going to be 3% or even as much as 5%. Which will be wonderful, but also present some of its own issues as we try to match those funds. But the numbers that you're seeing today are based on what is being made available to us as of right now. So it's a modest budget, slight increases to address the needs and to continue to fund some of our capital projects. We had to replace a lot of air conditioner units or parts of them last summer. And as they were all put in at the same time, it's logical to think that some of these things are going to start to break down this year as well. So in terms of the revenue, a total increase in revenue this year of 2.7% based on the current numbers. And you can see last year's fiscal year 21 to this year's fiscal year 22. And where that money is coming from, of course, the largest lion's share is from the local contributions, 757 students with a tuition of 8606, and that's a 2.5% increase over last year, and that's to be able to match up with the funds to be able to give raises. Building rental, we listed as 7,000 for next year. We actually just finished a project here that brought in a rather large amount of building rental. They're filming a movie called Swagger that is based on the life of Kevin Durant, the basketball player, and their folks fell in love with our old gym, the gym that we generally don't like. It was very appealing to them, and they spent the last 5 days here. They're gone now, but they spent the weekend and Monday and Tuesday filming here, and we were able to get about $20,000 of building rental fees out of that, as well as some nice exposure. And it didn't bother us a bit because we didn't have any students here, and they just occupied the gym. So aside from having lots of people on campus, they did a wonderful job of mitigating and keeping themselves where they needed to be. So we actually are going to have an increase in building rental from this year. Free and reduced lunch receipts, that's a pass-through. Dual enrollment, that's kind of a pass-through. Technology initiative is the reimbursement that we get from the state. We are going to have some carryover, I think, that'll be able to go into building reserve a little bit higher than last year based on just not using the building as much. And that helps us with some of our capital projects. And then the state contribution as it sits right now is $2,388,704. I'd love to see that number go up, but that's where it is for now. In terms of expenses, it obviously matches our income. We have a balanced budget. Some of the things that are additions to this year, our administration fees are a little bit up. In the past, we have used different funding streams to be able to fund graduation from the Altria. This year, we're putting it in our budget so that we take that away from our parents. We're able to do that for them. It also includes an increase in convenience fees for online payments. We are able to fund that. We're trying to push everybody towards doing payments online instead of bringing checks in. It's actually a lot easier for us to move money around when it's electronic, as well as depositing it and not having to worry about the manual piece that goes with the checks. Also, because of COVID, it's just one less point of contact. So we were following Goochland's lead and building that into our budget to be able to pick up that convenience fee so our parents don't get hit with that. And that paid off very, very well this year, I think. Salary and benefits went up a little bit, again, providing a 2.5% raise. That number also includes the new registered nurse position, which is above and beyond where it had been. We didn't have that last year. And then utilities, building reserve, office supplies, and insurance, the usual increase. This year, our insurance, we're estimating an actually very modest increase. We have a very good broker, and Mr. Smith does a good job working with him to be able to keep our costs down. So this would be the total additions, but we're also saving a lot of money this year in the next budget. Our textbooks are down by about almost $45,000. Materials and supplies will be less. Service contracts, non-professional services, that number comes down a little bit. Our VRS hybrid employer, we've been budgeting too much money for that. Turns out we just don't have that many people that are on the hybrid model. They're still on the old model. So that number was able to come down to match closer to what the actual expenditures have been. And then office equipment too, this year is a little bit lower because last year we had purchased quite a few new pieces of furniture that we did not do for the next budget. So that number comes down just a little bit. You know, and the bottom line is, we're balancing a budget with a moderate increase in expenses. The tricky part is going to be if the state passes a 5% increase in salaries, having to match that. And the game plan is that we would, I think we're going to carry over this year potentially more than what I'm budgeting for, because I budget very, very conservatively. And if that's the case, we'll be able to move that money into building reserve, use building reserve funds to be able to match up what the shortfall that's going to be coming from the state if they go with the 5% increase. So I think we can make it work, but I can't promise 100% until I actually see those numbers and see what the state actually gives us. And oftentimes that seems to be a very mysterious formula. I would say that, you know, looking forward to fiscal year 23, I think that it's going to kind of be a reset year, especially I'm going into it assuming, and maybe I'm incorrect, but I'm assuming that we're going to have our kids back on campus full time in September. I don't know if that's true or not, but for budget purposes, I have to think of it that way. I sincerely pray and hope that that's the case. And assuming that it is, there's going to be kind of a budget hiccup as we sort of match up this year with next year, and we're going to have to kind of reset ourselves in terms of our expenses, because there were things that we spent more on this year that we hadn't anticipated, particularly distance learning and technology costs, and then certainly things that we didn't spend money on, like referees for sports. Even playing sports, a much truncated season has brought the cost down on that. No field trips, no international trips, so that's brought the cost down as well. And I will say this, and I feel kind of like a broken record, but state funding continues to be a challenge. We're nowhere near the amounts that were indicated that we could be 4 years ago. When I first took this position, the interim director told me of all of this work that they had done with the state, and they were going to fix formulas and things were going to be great. And that simply hasn't happened. And we've seen no movement on that whatsoever in the past 4 years. When the add-on went away with the sunset provision, the 19 governor school directors got together. We worked very hard and made a lot of progress, I felt, with the DOE as well as the governor's office in getting them to recognize the problem. We had assurances from them that, you know, they were going to try to help us, and that is simply not happened. It has simply not happened, despite our best efforts, despite efforts by some of the people down there who are sympathetic to our cause. It just hasn't happened. And I don't think with the current climate, we can expect it to happen anytime soon. So I just put that out there, as it continues to be a challenge for us to be able to get the adequate funding that we need from the state, even though they recognize the problem, that the General Assembly recognized the problem and put the add-on a couple of years ago or 5 years ago with the intention that the funding formula would be corrected and brought back to the General Assembly, and that just hasn't materialized. So are there any questions on this piece before I just share the actual nuts and bolts of it?
Yeah, I do have one quick question, if I can, Bob. You had a slide up there in the expenses where you had salary increase in the RN. I know that we've got the room if the budgets should change from the 2 to the 3 or the 5% that's being suggested, and the match obviously has an impact on us. I was trying to gauge how much of that was the RN, because I couldn't recall, and then how much was the remainder portion. So I got a sense for what those dollars were moving forward.
Yeah,
I'm probably the only one who cares, but
no, excellent question. We budgeted 70,000 for the RN to include benefits.
Great.
And we negotiated a salary that's quite a bit less than that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if she's going to pick up the benefits. So we budgeted salary plus the insurance and all, budgeted 70. The other piece to remember is that last year, we approved a 2% raise for our teachers in March or April,
Right.
and then we held it. And so you're not seeing that number should be higher. I think that 175 should be higher to get the 2.5%. But because we didn't actually give the raise last year, we held on to it because we just didn't know we didn't know anything about CARES money or COVID money. We didn't know that existed back then. That number is actually kind of artificially lower. One of the things after this budget is approved that I will likely come back to the board with, and I have the support of your finance officers, based on the funds that we have this year, of being able to give some sort of a bonus. I call it a bonus. I don't know what, maybe there's a better word for it, but I know other districts have done that for their staff in lieu of the fact that we weren't able to give them any kind of raise this year. That depending upon what the state does and what our numbers are, that's something that I would like to explore if the funds are there for it. But the 175 that you saw, the increase, that includes, that's definitely not a 2.5% raise based on the existing salary, but by the fact that we didn't give it last year's number, fiscal year 21's number, is higher than what we're actually using right now. And that's an excellent question.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that just sort of helps me understand that each percentage is roughly $40,000, impact for you guys. And so that just helps a whole lot with that. And hopefully when it comes to things like a stipend or bonus or however you want to term it, for this year, maybe little things like a film crew showing up might help.
It does. It absolutely does. And I will say, when I said that it had very little impact on us in terms of the production, physically that was true. But I have to give, Max Smith used to weigh about 20 pounds more than he does right now. And the hair he has, he's now started to dye it because of the production. It was canceled twice or moved twice because they had a COVID outbreak. It was supposed to be originally filmed months ago. And then just the contract, when you're dealing with contracts, it's just astounding how much. I never in a million years imagined what goes into producing what's probably 30 minutes of actual footage. And I will share, this is kind of funny too. And Max asked the question, why does it take you all so long to film this? And the response from their guy was, well, we hired actors, not basketball players. And so when they're shooting like a foul shot, they might have to do 15, 20 takes before they finally get the shot that they want. So when I say it didn't have much impact, no, it didn't impact most of us in the campus, but Mr. Smith did a ridiculous amount of work. And also Coach Hawkins, our activities director, had to make a lot of, we had to move our volleyball teams. The ultimate thing was we had to move 2 days of practices, 3 days of practices. And part of our agreement was they had to find a place for us to go, and they did. So, but yeah, that $20,000 would certainly help. Those are all pieces that go into the pot. I feel confident.
Thanks for the recognition, Bob. I appreciate it.
No problem.
The production was quite a production.
It was, but one of the things that, and I'll just share this sort of personally, but also along the budget lines, is when I got this job, the thing that I was scared of the most was the budget, because it was the one piece that I didn't have a lot of experience with in terms of building a full budget the way we do here. I would just be given a certain amount of money to spend on equipment, and that was easy enough. But one of the things I'm also proudest of in terms of the school is that past 4 years, we've been able to manage our funds, keep the building up to speed, put the growth in where we needed it, update technology, update facilities, give raises when we could. And we've never had to go back to the districts, say in October or January and say, we blew it, we're off, we need more money, we need help. We've been able to manage that, I think, responsibly. And it's a team effort. It comes from, everybody that's on this call right now, David and Wendy and Max and Paige and Karen Hoover, who's not on it right now, but we work through these things and then we bring them to people like you, John, who do this for a living and say, what are we missing? How's this working? And because of that, we're able to produce a responsible budget that's not, that we're able to meet and be able to still do all the things that we want to be able to do for our kids and our teachers. So
Right.
I do think we have a pretty good process. Do you want me to share the actual budget document itself right now?
I don't know that anybody feels the need.
You have it. Everybody has it.
Yeah, right. I'm okay. I've already been looking at it. I'm sure that shocks you. But no,
Let me give you my surprise look.
No, right, exactly. No, I don't think it's really necessary to go through that now. And, board members, if for whatever reason you can't locate that, I'm sure that we can provide you with a copy, but I think we're okay.
Okay. Well, we will present it formally in February and allow for public comment on it as well. Hopefully by March, I'm sorry. Hopefully by then, the General Assembly will have given us some indication as to what's going on. And if that's the case, we'll make the adjustments and present it with new numbers. But at least for right now, I think we're good.
Dr. Lowry, would you do one thing before we all sign off? Would you go back to the agenda and scroll to the bottom?
Yep. You got to give me a moment here.
Marquis?
Yes, I wanted you to see it.
Yeah, hang on just a second. Let me, I have to get back into it here. I had moved on.
It is gorgeous.
Max did that.
All right, hang on.
We got that installed about a year and a half ago or so. Big project, but I think it yields some good results. And we put up a shout out for Board Appreciation Month as well as you, Mr. Wright.
Yeah, well, that is the first and probably last time my name will be in lights. So. Thank you very much. All right, guys, it's been a lot of fun. Look forward to speaking with everybody again soon, and let us know if there's anything that we presented today that you need a little follow-up on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for participating, everybody. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
take care, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.